Wow, okay, that's a lot of questions. I expected to get, like, maybe 10? Ah well, the more the merrier. I love talking about myself. Welcome to the 10,000 subscribers milestone Q&A video. You've asked me questions, and I will answer. There's a lot to talk about, so let's just get right into it. What's my favorite sword/medieval weapon? I've always been partial to the mother of all armaments, the broadsword, but in terms of sheer practicality, I'm going to say the halberd is my favorite. You got good chopping and thrusting action in one package. Favorite Pokemon? This is an interesting question since I was never really a Pokemon kid growing up. That was my sister's scene, but if I had to pick one from an aesthetics point of view, it would probably be that cute zebra one. Blitzel, I think it's called. Favorite game to come back to and just take in the scenery for a while? That's a good question. There's so many good ones, but one that I always circle back to, one that I always return to no matter how many years fly off the calendar, is Skyrim. It's beautiful there. I love the Rift area in particular, and it takes me back to simpler times, before bills and plagues and stuff. Favorite video game of all time? Wow, you guys are asking really tough questions. It's close, but I think it's Resident Evil 4, the original one. Not only is it an incredible game in its own right, but it's one that I know so well that I'm extremely comfortable playing it. The remake is really great, and I even consider it a better game on its own, but the original is where my memories are. Funny thing about that is it's my mom's favorite game too, so I think that has a lot to do with it. We played it a lot together when I was growing up. Favorite Source game? Oh, that one's easy. Half-Life 2. No contest. Nothing else on the Source engine even comes close in my opinion. Could I do a Cruelty Squad video? That's that shooter with the retro web art style, right? It's on my list of games to play, so it's not impossible you see a Games from Earth video on it at some point. And also, what inspired me to get into making YouTube videos? Most definitely my passion for video games themselves, but it goes a little bit deeper than that. I like sharing games with people. I like talking about what's cool, what's not, and what works and what doesn't. Combine that with the fact that I love making people laugh and my ever-growing view of video games as the most valuable medium out there, and you've got this channel. I actually originally uploaded Let's Plays to an old channel, which I then went on to share with my close friend and then roommate in a Game Grumps style duo thing, but I found that the live commentary format wasn't letting me be as creative as I needed to be. So I decided to get into more high-effort videos like these ones. What's my favorite cereal, or am I more of an oatmeal guy? You know what? You guys can crucify me if you have to, but neither. I usually only have cereal as a late-night snack, since most of my favorites are far too sweet to have for breakfast. And oatmeal, jeez. The texture just grosses me out. I'll eat it once in a blue moon, but only when I'm at my lowest points. I usually go for like eggs or fruit, or maybe some baby carrots with some hummus for a tasty and nutritious start to the day. What's my favorite music genre? I'll be honest, I don't have an answer for that. I've avidly enjoyed so many different genres of music over the years that I don't think I could nail down just one. I will say, I'm big on melody and vocal delivery, so I don't really like most trap or country music. But what I do like is power metal, J-pop, punk rock, classic rock, folk, indie pop, synthwave, and alternative. Here are some of my recent favorites so that you can kind of get an idea of what I listen to. Happy listening. How many pills do I have to take to make the visions go away? Usually just one. Favorite architectural style? Gothic Revival. I mean, look at this shit. Would I ever consider doing some Where Are We Now in something like VR chat? Yep, stay tuned. I winked, but you couldn't see it because I got no skin. What's my background/profession? Making videos and especially voiceovers in such an amazing quality must have a base somewhere. Well, first of all, thank you. You're making me blush. As for my background, I'm a media study major in college. I think that's what you're looking for with that question, but I was making videos before that, so I don't know. I guess I'm just built different. What's your process for Where Are We Now? Is there a method to deciding what you talk about, or is it more casual and from the heart? Definitely the latter. It's very flow of consciousness. Nothing is planned out when I start making an episode except for the theme. In my first two videos, however, which were game reviews, I did have a much more outlined approach, but I found that was taking way too long. Could you please tell us the other games you're thinking of playing for Where Are We Now? So, I can't tell the future, and I don't know for sure what I'm going to do. And that series is very much off the cuff in that I don't have any grand plans for where it's going, but I can tell you this. The series is about individual artists. It's about everyday people like you and me crafting their own worlds, scrawling their name into the untouchable fabric of the virtual universe. That said, any game that has an intriguing base of user-made content for it is in my sights for Where Are We Now. In community-generated environments for games, what appeals to me the most in how they're laid out and what artistic style it has? I really like things that feel like their own world. They all do to some degree, but stuff that sets itself apart with things like custom assets from outside the game, or using the base game assets in a completely new and interesting way really call out to me. I guess what appeals to me the most is the passion. Most of these user-made spaces are made in the creator's free time, without compensation, purely for their love of the game and their desire to express themselves. I think that's beautiful. Does it feel somewhat comical that the videos which have exploded in popularity have had less effort put into them compared to your other content, yet saw more success? Comical, yes, but let me correct you on one thing. All of my videos have the same range of effort. I try to give you guys 90% effort or above on every video, bar none. But what makes the discrepancy you're talking about amusing is the amount of time required. Where Are We Now does take less time to produce than Games from Earth, but that's because in those Games from Earth episodes I'm playing an entire game. In Where Are We Now, I just have to explore maps for a few hours to get the footage and write the script. But then again, a pepperoni pizza takes less time to make than a premium lobster dish does, and yet both are delicious. It's a matter of taste, and can you really blame the masses for going for the pizza? I can't. Favorite movie and why? Again with the tough questions. There are so many excellent movies. And what my favorite one is changes all the time, but to avoid hedging again, I'll say Terminator 2. It has the most gorgeously shot nighttime scenes I've seen in a movie ever, and it bridges the gap between human emotion and the cold, unfeeling heart of a machine. That, and it's Arnold at his absolute peak. What's not to love? What was I doing before YouTube? Same thing I'm doing now, trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life. YouTube isn't like a full-time job for me or anything, it's pretty much just a hobby, so it hasn't really shifted the foundation of my life. Not at this point in time, anyway. Are you going to make more videos like the late night special where you visit maps with a certain theme? I have been. I did one on maps to capture the sensation of going deeper and deeper down, and I did one on liminal space. If that's not buttering your biscuit though, rest assured, the late night special isn't a one and done thing. There could be more. Stance on religion. I don't really have a stance on religion since I'm not a politician and people can practice whatever they want, but I can tell you that I myself am not religious. You have to replace one of your fingers with a crab leg. On which finger are you making this replacement? I'm going to go with my left pinky since usually it doesn't do much anyway, and if I do that I can give extra strength promises when I need to. What's my least favorite part of the video creation process? Good question, let me think about that. It's gotta be the thumbnail, since you can have an incredible video that's better than anything else like it, but if your thumbnail isn't making enough of an impression on people scrolling past it, it does not matter. YouTube is completely centered around your whole video's performance depending on a single image, which is complete dog shit. But in an age where so much gets uploaded every hour, it might be the only way to do it. But yeah, thumbnails for sure. Not so much for the process of making them, but just for, what it means. Distilling a video down into one image is really difficult. Have I considered more horror-oriented maps, even if they were to go against the loud noises and jump scares thing? Here's the thing about that. I can just cut around the loud noises and jump scares, just like I did in the aquarium map. So yeah, I'd say it's on the menu. The jump scares will probably never make it into an episode of Where Are We Now, though, I will tell you that. It doesn't really fit the format or the vibe. Games from Earth, however, doesn't have that same restriction. Of course, if a video ever does have jump scares or flashing lights like that, there will be a warning in the beginning, just to be completely transparent. Is there any particular type of atmosphere that I especially like in games? I really like games that look colorful and pretty, but have some sort of innocently wistful vibe. Kind of like Minecraft with its blocky look paired with the somber soundtrack. Genshin Impact ventures into that territory too. Have I ever thought about playing SCP Containment Breach? I played it years and years ago when it was new, actually. It definitely had a unique feeling to it from what I remember. Very spooky. Are there any plans to do more weird niche games? Absolutely. Game reviews are still here, I've just shifted focus a little bit. There's one in the workshop right now, actually. I think it's gonna come out next month sometime. What's the story behind my name? So, the From Earth part is what I used to put in contact forms or website sign-up pages since I didn't want to give my real location. I would just put Earth in the address bar like a smartass. As for the Logan part, that's just my real name. I was named after Wolverine. Stick them together, you get Logan from Earth. Am I secretly Shaquille O'Neal? No. How do I reverse sear a steak? Well, I don't because I'm not a big steak guy, but if I were, I'd probably do a dry rub, let it sit uncovered in the refrigerator overnight, and then sear it for like a minute and a half on each side with some herbal butter or something. I don't know. Ginger ale or Sprite? Ginger ale. If I could only live off one type of food for the rest of my life, what would it be? Sandwiches. You have so many options to work with sandwiches. Why the Purple Allen as your profile pic, and how does it fit with the Logan from Earth brand? I haven't really thought that much about brand, I just like cartoons, and I thought it was a funny face. That's it. Probably won't be my profile picture forever, but for now, it stays. What's the first game I ever played, and do I still like it? Oh shit, that's a hard one. I don't really remember. I've been playing video games since before I knew my ABCs. It was probably one of the ones we had on the N64 when I was growing up. Donkey Kong 64 or Shadows of the Empire or something. I don't really play those games anymore, but I do play a lot of games from my childhood still, like Super Mario Sunshine. I try to play that every summer, and Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. Oh, those games are so good. What age/year? I am 26. What's my opinion on the other Valve games like TF2 or Portal? TF2 I can honestly take or leave since I don't really like multiplayer shooters that much. I acknowledge its importance for the PC gaming scene as a whole, but I just never got into it. As for Portal, I think it's a really cool game. I've been saving the second one for a rainy day. I still haven't played it all the way through, to this day. What do I think makes the channel so unique? To name one thing, a lot of channels like mine that produce video essay format stuff fail to see that the most important part is the voiceover. Like the way it sounds itself. They sound disinterested and robotic a lot of the time, and I think I've dodged that problem by sticking to a single philosophy. I'm not just reading out loud, I'm acting. Acting as myself, but acting nonetheless. What's my favorite food? Spaghetti and meatballs with a side of garlic bread. You can serve me spaghetti with homemade sauce, homemade meatballs, and hand-rolled noodles, and I'd be just as happy as if you served me great value brand noodles with ragu and frozen meatballs. I'm just that much of a slave to spaghetti. What are my top Garry's Mod maps? Well, to pick 3 off the top of my head I think are really good, let's go with Nightlight, Evo City, and I mean, you can't go wrong with Big City, that's a classic. When are we going to play Heroes of Might and Magic 3 again? I don't know, Dan, how about you DM me? Or are you too much of a coward? What are some good add-ons for exploring Gmod maps? Well, for me, I like to use this add-on called Third Person Flashlight Improved. It lets you change the size, distance, brightness, and color of your flashlight. It's really handy because the default Half-Life 2 flashlight really washes out the color sometimes. I also like Gmod Leg's 3 self-portrait camera because it's funny, and the Sit Anywhere script. What's the biggest deal breaker for me when choosing a game? And what's the biggest deal maker? Well, if you mean just like playing it and not making a video on it, deal breakers, then having a shitty PC port's probably up there at the top. I've been playing games solely on the PC for my entire adult life, and I just have no patience for games that prioritize console performance so much over PC. As for deal makers, I really like knowing that there's a lot to do in a game, even if I'll never do it all. Like all those damn sub-stories in Yakuza games. I'm never gonna do them, but knowing that they're there kinda makes it feel like a more complete experience. What's my favorite part of making YouTube videos? I go back and forth on this, but I can pretty confidently say that my favorite part is reading comments. I like to read people's thoughts on things and to get the perspectives of other people. Because, for example, if 10 or so people see the same thing, you're definitely going to have some variations in their thoughts and feelings on it because everyone's different. Everyone's their own person. What is my advice for motivation when making stuff? I'm far from an authority on how to stay motivated, but I can tell you this. Always ask yourself if you're happy with what you're currently working on, and I don't mean the end result. I mean if you yourself feel content while you're making whatever you're making. If you don't feel happy, then your creations will inevitably suffer for it, and more importantly, so will you. Prioritize yourself always. Do I play any instruments? Yes, I play the guitar and the keyboard, but I will admit that I'm out of practice with both. How do I go about writing scripts for my videos? Well, so far what I've found works best is if I treat it like a flow of consciousness sort of thing. I write scripts as I record footage, which allows me to be a lot more personal. If I wrote the script after the fact, I would be more disconnected from whatever I was recording and feeling at the time, and therefore, my thoughts wouldn't come through as clearly. Am I a hamburger or hot dog kind of guy? Hamburgers all the way, but if it were hamburgers versus sausages, I don't think there'd be a clear winner. Favorite bug? Easily the praying mantis. They just look so authoritative all the time. Almost like aliens. What do I see myself doing in the future regarding making videos? There's a lot that I want to do eventually, but as always, timing is key. Where Are We Now is a wonderful pace setter because it allows me to make videos on one of my interests that perform well. But in the circle of video games, it's only one of my many interests. I can definitely see myself doing a lot more Games from Earth episodes in the future, since I'm definitely more drawn to that type of stuff. I also wouldn't be opposed to doing like weekly live streams or something at some point either, for stuff that doesn't really fit on the channel. But that's pretty far off. To summarize that answer, I don't really know. I'm very much just going with the flow, and I honestly prefer it this way. Gmod add-ons that help with the filming process. For me, it's not so much add-ons as it is knowing how to make good use of the console commands and the tools that the game gives you, like cameras and lamps and stuff. Where do babies come from? To be honest, dude, I've been trying to figure that out for years. I'm starting to think the stork thing is a lie. What are some of my inspirations and influences? Do I let my mind run wild, or do I have a central goal in mind at the end of my writing process? Well, for influences, I'm very heavily inspired by Ross's Game Dungeon, AVGN, and G-Man Lives. But I also borrow ideas from Neebs Gaming, who have an incredible high production value on each of their videos, one that I aspire to. As for goals for the writing process, I generally know how I want to set up the premise of each video, but after that, it's all about going with the flow for me, which is what works best for my particular style. Would you consider doing another video on maps where you go deeper? Yeah, certainly. Me doing a themed video doesn't mean that I won't ever do that theme again. If I liked it and it turned out well, I'll be inclined to go back and do a sequel. And I think that video did do well. It was a lot of fun. What drinks other than coffee do I typically go for? To be honest, since I made that video where I talked about coffee for 2 minutes straight, I've drastically reduced my coffee intake, just to see how it affects my stomach. Results are good so far. As of other drinks, almost all the time I'm just drinking water, but it's not unusual to catch me with an iced tea in my hand. What do I think about the concept of nostalgia in gaming, and do I think there's any benefit to adding it into a gaming experience? Yeah, I do think there's a benefit, but the thing about nostalgia is that it's very subjective. Not everyone is nostalgic for the same thing, so if you're trying to make a commercially successful game, you can't rely just on nostalgia. I think a lot of games catch flack for being just nostalgia bait and lacking original ideas, but honestly, I think looking back on the things that made us happier earlier in life is cool. I think it's fine. Just don't overdo it. Have I ever played Knockout City? I haven't played it myself, but I have heard the soundtrack, and it fucks. It's super good. What video game got me into gaming? Interesting wording on that question. I think it was Star Wars Battlefront 2 for the PlayStation 2. That was the first game I played that just had me thinking like, holy crap, this is a game we've got here. And let me tell you, a game it is. That game still rocks to this day. Any tips for video making? Advice is going to be drastically different depending on what type of video you're making, but if I were to give you any general advice that applies to all video making, I would tell you to do things that you're comfortable doing. Don't grab the newest and most popular game and do a video on it because it's in right now. Grab that old favorite of yours, that game nobody talks about anymore. Talk about what you know about it, and what you like about it, and what you're familiar with. Your stuff will come out a lot more authentic if you do that. Have I dabbled into map making myself? Yeah, actually, I used to do it all the time when I was a teenager. I made dozens of maps just for myself. It was one of my earliest modding experiences on the PC, and to this day, I still occasionally fire up the Hammer editor with an idea that interests me. I don't really finish that stuff, though. I usually start it, I'll work on it for a day or two, and I'll be like, this is pretty cool, but my ADHD brain will be like, I want to do something else. How long is the process to make one video? It varies greatly, so I don't have a clear answer to that, even for myself. For Where Are We Now, they're a lot quicker. Games from Earth take a lot longer because I generally have to play through an entire game while taking notes in the process and recording it. I can tell you that I do put a lot of extra time into the editing process. I like to make things just right, you know? What do I think about Warhammer 40k? I don't know too much about it, other than that it's a satirical dark fantasy universe and that people that are into Warhammer are really into Warhammer. I've never met an undedicated 40k fan, and I think that's a sign that you have something really special. For someone who is looking to start their channel based on their interests, what do you recommend? I think it's healthy not to take it too seriously. Treat it as a hobby and only do it if it's fun for you. That's what I've been doing, and it's working great for me so far. What's my opinion on Minecraft, and would I ever do videos exploring Minecraft maps? I totally adore Minecraft, you guys. I've played it ever since before there was a hunger bar. Those were dark days. It's definitely a cornerstone of my very gaming soul, since it allowed so much freedom of expression from a very young age. But sadly, I have lost a bit of interest in it over the years. Like, for example, this year, the 2-week-long phase didn't come, which worries me. I do have some ideas for featuring Minecraft on the channel, but they are a ways off. Just let me cook. Femboys? Yes. Why did I come up with the idea of judging survivability of a place? To be honest, I don't know. I just always try to think of things logically, I guess. Why the Skelly Boy player model? I think skeletons are funny. Favorite national park? By default, it's Gettysburg, since I'm pretty sure that's the only one I've been to. I said I was going to upload videos about different games some time ago, but am I going to keep doing the Where Are We Now ones? Yes. I have no plans to get rid of the most popular series on the channel by far, but it's not the only thing I'm currently working on. Have I considered doing album reviews? The thought has crossed my mind briefly, but I'm much more interested in talking about video games than I am music. So I'll put that one in cold storage for now. How do I feel about the Tony Hawk franchise of games, and which was my favorite? I've never actually played any of them, but the one that looks the coolest is Tony Hawk Underground. I watched a streamer play that one a while ago and it was hilarious. If I could travel anywhere on Earth for a week and money was provided, where would I go? If we're talking outside of the US, I'd definitely go to Oktoberfest in Germany if I were given the opportunity. It looks like the most fun you can have in Europe. Would I consider doing longer videos? Yeah, sure. I don't really make a decision on the length of the video when I make it. I mostly just go until I think the video feels finished, if that makes sense. So if a video ever needs to be super long, I won't shy away from it. Is it true skeletons love milk? No, that's a common misconception. We don't love it, we just need it. Kinda like how you fleshies need water. Have I ever played the Stanley Parable or the Beginner's Guide? I watched Markiplier play the Stanley Parable like a decade ago, before he even had 1 million subs, and I think I got pretty much all the enjoyment I could out of it by watching a Let's Play. I did love it though, it was extremely funny, and I don't think there's anything else like it on the market. I've never heard of the Beginner's Guide though, I'll have to look at that. Favorite color? I think it's green right now, but check back to me in 2 weeks and I guarantee you it'll be purple. 10K fan meetup when? We're doing it right now, dude. What are my plans for the future of the channel? I don't have any big plans, I'm just doing what's fun. I can tell you this. Where Are We Now is really great, but it's not the only thing I want to do with the channel. Are there any organizational or motivational strategies that I use for YouTube? I'm probably the least organized person to ever upload to this platform, so I can't help you there. In terms of motivation, I would just say to make sure you ask yourself if it really makes you happy. Sometimes we get caught up in the algorithm and it's easy to forget the most important thing, which is taking care of yourself. If you find you're stressing out about not getting views or you're worrying about going too long without making a video, then I think you should take a step back and ask yourself if it's still making happy brain chemicals for you. If it's not, take a break. Come back with fresh ideas. The internet isn't going anywhere, and your mental well-being is much more important than attention from strangers. What game has the most unique atmosphere in my opinion? Project Zomboid for sure. I've played a lot of zombie games and a lot of survival games, and I don't think anything else has achieved what Zomboid has, just in terms of sound and environmental storytelling. Am I afraid of pigeonholing myself as the Where Are We Now guy with my videos? Yes, the thought has crossed my mind. I'm really glad Where Are We Now has been able to connect so many people with similar interests, and it has become a great medium for appreciating the artistic merit of the game modding community, but I also really like making game reviews. I'll be trying pretty hard not to build the entire channel around Where Are We Now, but I can't do it alone. For all of you here for Where Are We Now who haven't checked out my other series, Games from Earth, what are you waiting for? I think those videos are great. No bias whatsoever. Am I a Hatsune Miku fan? Fan is pretty generous. There are 2 or 3 songs that I dig, like Rolling Girl and Tell Your World, but most of my interest in Vocaloid stuff died off when I discovered other types of music. I do, however, like the character design itself, and that's part of why I featured that poster in the Games from Earth intro. That, and I think it's super funny. Will I be making a Discord? Never say never, but I don't have plans for it currently. Maybe when we get bigger. From my experience, small communities like this one making a Discord channel quickly turns into babysitting, and I don't really feel like doing that. So I'll wait until I can have a team of moderators keep you scoundrels in line for me. Do I fuck with Postal 2? Yeah, I think it's cool that you can piss on people. What's it like putting 10K people to sleep on the regular? It's nice, it makes me feel like I'm making a difference, especially as someone who struggles with on and off insomnia. Would I ever consider an LSD Dream emulator video? I'd consider it, yeah. It's weird and freaky, and I dig the aesthetic of it, so maybe someday. Am I really from Earth? You know my secret. Yes I am, and no you don't. If all my videos suddenly came to life, which one do I think would hate me? I think the Fear video would hate me the most, since I think to date, it's the video that's taken me the longest to edit. I think it took me maybe 50 hours or something. I was still using Sony Vegas, which crashes more often than my attention span does, so I would lose hours of progress sometimes. And, I remembered this just now, I had to re-render that shit like 8 times. which would take all night on my shitty system, because that video's like almost an hour. It ended up having some like corrupt frames in it or something. Video turned out great though. You should check it out. What's my process for making videos? Trying to take a peek at how the sausage is made, huh? Trying to steal my secret formula? Okay. I write as I record, but beyond that I won't say. I gotta have something for future milestones. Maybe at 50K or something I'll do a how it's made video. Maybe. Anyway, that's all the questions I'm going to answer for this Q&A special. Again, thank you all for your interest in my videos and for your questions. The attention means a lot, and seeing people unite under a shared interest for exploration, it makes my heart flutter a little, I'll be honest. I have no idea what the future holds, but I do know that I want you all to be here for it. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to do some stretches before bed tonight. Alright, catch you on the flip.